Hello. In this video, I'd like to show you how to solve three different types of mixture problems. The first will involve money. The second, mixture with alcohol. And the third, a distance problem. Here's the first problem. And it says this. A publishing company has two monthly magazines. One, The Joy of Travel by Train, sells for 35 cents. So we'll say T sells for 35 cents per copy. The second, The Joy of Travel by Planes, sells for 50 cents. So let's say P costs 50 cents. So that's the price per magazine. Now, last month, the combined circulation was 283,500 subscriptions or magazines. 283,500 magazines were sold. The total money collected from the sales, money collected, was $104,550. So from these two facts, the first regarding the number of magazines sold, and the second, the money collected, we want to find out how many magazines of each type were sold. Remember, in a mixture problem, we need two equations. One will tell us how many, for example, how many magazines, and the second will tell us how much money was collected. So for the how many equation, for the how many, the number of Trains magazines plus the number of Planes magazines adds up to 283,500. Now, each Trains magazine sold for 35 cents and each Plane magazine for 50 cents. So these T magazines sold for a total of 35 cents times T, and the Planes 50 cents times P. So here we have our two equations to solve for how many Planes magazines, how many Trains magazines. To solve this, I'll take this first equation and solve for T. T equals 283,500 minus P. Now I'm going to take that value for T and I will substitute this value in my second equation in place of T. Let me write that up here for us. So that will give me 0.35 times 283,500 minus P plus 0.50P will equal $104,550. Now I'm going to solve for P, and quite frankly, the easiest way to do that will be to multiply both sides by 100. So I will have 35 times 283,500 minus P plus 50P is equal to 104,550,000, so 10,455,000. Now we'll distribute the 35, and with our distributive property then, I've got 35 times 283,500. That gives me 9,922,500 minus 35P plus 50p is 10,455,000. So to solve this, we'll subtract the 35 from the 50. So that will give us 15p. And then we'll subtract the 9 million from the 10 million, so 10,455, and subtract 9,922,500, and that gives us 532,500. We'll divide by 15, and the number of planes subscriptions, 35,500. Now for the number of planes, or rather trains rather, well, there were a total of 283,000. So for the number of trains, we take the total, 283,500. We subtract 35,500. So 283,500, subtract 35,500, and that gives us the number of trains magazines, 248,000. So this shows us then how we can solve this system. Again, it is a mixture problem, and what you need to know is we have an equation for how many. We also have an equation for how much. And notice that this is how many subscriptions. This is how much money. Okay, let's take a look at our second example. The second example will also be a mixture problem, but what will make this one different is that it will involve percentages. And the percentages are often alcohol, but they could be other things, such as minerals, such as copper, such as tin, and so on. So let me read this problem for you and show you how we'll take care of it. It reads like so. 1 alloy of copper is 20% pure copper, and another is 12% pure copper. We want to take a mixture of these to produce 60 pounds of an alloy that has 9 pounds of copper. Now, this is a little tricky question. Now, I've got 2 alloys. One alloy has 20% copper. I will call that T. So this is the alloy that's 20% copper. And I use T for 20%. Another is 12% pure copper. So another is 12% pure copper. I'll use W, and this is the alloy that is 12% copper. Now I'm going to combine them together, so I need some of T pounds, and I need W pounds, because the problem says I want 60 pounds. Well, that's the how many equation. How many pounds of each? I'm just watching my time when I lean like this because YouTube requires the videos to be under 15 minutes. All right, so I have T pounds, W pounds will give me 60 pounds. Now the second part is the how much. How much is copper? Well, these T pounds is 20% of copper. So the amount of copper is 0.20 T, and the W is 12%, 0.12 W. And that would equal how much of the 60 pounds must be copper. In this particular problem, it tells us we want 9 pounds of copper. So because it says that, I can simply say that that is equal to 9, because we want 9 pounds of copper. Now sometimes it might say something like this. I want a mixture Now, if I'm taking 20% and 12%, it might say, I want a mixture that is 15% copper. You know, it might say, I want 60 pounds of a mixture that is 15% copper. If that were the case, then I would need to write here 0.15 times 60, 15% of 60. And I'm taking from the 12 and the 20 to give me 15. But in this problem, they say we want 9 pounds of copper. So here's my equation. Again, I can multiply the second equation by 100. So I would have 20T plus 12W, I multiply by 100, equals 900. I'll take this first equation. Let's solve for T. T equals 60 minus W. Once again, I'll take this 60 minus W, and I'm going to replace T with 60 minus W. That's my substitution. Here we go. 20 times 60 minus W plus 12W equals 900. And we'll solve for W. Alrighty, so 2 times 6 is 12. We've got 1200 minus 20W plus 12W equals 900. So subtracting negative 8W equals, and I subtract 900 minus 1200 would be negative 300. So when I divide 300 by 8, or rather 300 by 1200, 300, no, by 8, I'm right, divided by 8, I get 37 and a half. 37 and 1/2 pounds of 12%. Now I wanted 60% altogether, and since I have 37 and a half pounds of the 12%, then I'll need 22.5% of the 20%. 22.5% of the 20%, 37.5% of the 12% will do the job. Alrighty, those are two mixture problems I wanted to set up, show for you, and the next problem will be a distance problem. I'm going to put that on a separate video since this one's about used up.